Hello, this is Angelica Sagath at the Osteopathy and Healing Center. So this is the third part of the video on intuition, and I want to start off by showing you this book. It is called Medical Intuition, and the author is Lori Wilson, and it's called Demystifying. Demystifying Medical Intuition by Lori Wilson. So that's the book that I am referring to when I'm talking about intuition right now, as I am taking a medical intuition course, and it's based on the body scan, the attending model that Lori Wilson teaches. And in the course, Lori says the body remembers incidents, feelings, and thoughts from outside influences. The body has a giant library storing your history and life in its cells. So having said that, there's also the author David Hawkins that I've mentioned before in previous videos, and he says in one of his videos that the cells don't remember anything. So somehow we do recall everything. It is the consciousness that recalls. And the point is, you could recall stuff that's in this cellular memory. Now, when we tune into the body primarily to follow, we give it a voice. So it's kind of like, here's a microphone, and you give it to the body, and it's like, here's what the body has to say. And it helps others to make sense of certain symptoms, certain conditions that they've been experiencing and that they couldn't get answers for, that may have defied more conventional means. We've learned so far energy is real. Our bodies and how they operate and how they communicate is via electricity, and we've explored what electricity is. And I'm going to give you another resource. When I think of electricity, what comes to my mind is when I was sitting in a lecture at the Canadian Academy of Osteopathy, and we were talking about the different researchers in osteopathy, and one of them is Irvin Kaur. Now, he worked with Dr. Denslow on the facilitation concept. He worked on what's called the facilitation concept. He was interested in the reflexes and the autonomic nervous system. He described the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system as an organizer for the propagation of reflexes of health or disease. For the propagation of health or disease. He studied electrodermal and thermal changes as a means to document autonomic activity. He also described nerves as being more than electrical carriers. He studied and elucidated the nerves as having chemical transport functions that he named axonal transport, exoplasmic flow. He said that there was this fluid in the nerves that could be felt by high-level palpation, and trophic effects as well could be distinguished from the inhibition of nerve juice. And that's coming from the afferent to the efferent neurons. And trophicity is the defect when there's defective nutrition due to some disorder of the trophic nerves. There's this trophicity to the nerves. Now, electricity is part of medical intuition, part of the medical intuition language. And we mentioned already Dr. Norman Shelley, who also used some of the work of the Hippocrates. Same with the osteopath, Dr. Still. And in his book called Sacred Healing, talks about electricity. He talks in his book called Sacred Healing, he talks about electricity and magnetism. So we went over electricity and magnetism in the previous videos. And he talks about that being a vital force within our energy field. There's many fields to the energy field that surrounds our bodies. And the one that we're working on is the physical field, when we're tuning in or tapping into the body and getting information from it. But you can also go online and you can see that there's different layers to the energy field. Knowing that our bodies are electricity based and there's an information transfer in medical intuition that is primarily energy based in nature, and that electricity is a great place to begin understanding energetic principles behind the information transfer in medical intuition. So we know that there's this energy transfer that's occurring in medical intuition, and we can start looking at some of the literature that talk about electricity, that talk about energy, to start to understand energetic principles behind that information transfer. Now, we don't have to be experts in these fields to understand basic concepts of electricity, energy, and how information is transferred in the form of electrical currents. You may yourself have thought of some common examples of electricity or electrical tools that you've used yourself or you've heard of before, and there's an information exchange, such as your phone, computer, and even more sophisticated, elaborated machines or tools such as transformers, x-rays. You might have even gotten some diagnostic imaging study like an x-ray, lasers, ultrasound, MRI. So Lori says, if energy can be transferred through wires and equipment to provide us images and helpful information, then why can't the same sort of electrical energy be harnessed and used to gather health information from one human body to another? And there's many books that describe disciplines dedicated to energy that could be studied. There are so many who have studied the energetic field. Lori continues to say that our DNA is life creating. The mind and the body are soaked through with intelligence. This intelligence in DNA is similar to the invisible field of energy that David Bohm, a British physicist, has postulated. And David Bohm says that there's both visible and invisible worlds that exist. Energy has been described, it's been measured in many ways, and some examples are in India, it is called prana. In China, it's called Qi. In Japan, it is Qi, Qi, and the Kabbalah calls it Nefesh. I apologize if I mispronounced that. There's authors, there's researchers, and there's healers who have gone to great lengths to help us to be able to understand the human body and the elaborate energy fields that surround us and are within us. The human energy field, or aura, and the term aura is familiar to me because I am a Reiki practitioner, and we learn about this energy field or aura surrounding the body. So this human energy field and aura has been actually photographed using Kirlian photography, an electronic photographic technique that was developed in the early 1940s. William Tiller, you might have heard of him, is a physicist who has made a huge impact on the field of energy medicine. He is the scientist whose work shaped many of the concepts featured in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? And it's a great movie, so if you want to understand more about energy, I'd say it's a good one to watch as well. What the Bleep Do We Know? And William Tiller is in that video as well. There are many individuals in many fields that have helped us to understand energy is real. So if we want to study that energy is real, we can start by exploring the literature found under keywords such as electricity, electromagnetic force, light, magnetism, and energy medicine. And we've already talked about that there's these different machines as well that use energy, so you could learn about those different machines as well to be able to understand the health and disease within our human energy field and how technology has helped to be able to photograph or measure that. And maybe in your profession you are already paying attention to people's bodies. You're tuning in, and people may be talking to you about their pain and their aches, and they may wonder what they are. What's the cause of these aches and pains? So this might be a language that you're very familiar with, you're using it daily, and people are drawn to that. So intuition, Lori says, is a skill set that can be both turned on or off at will. So if you kind of imagine you're turning on the light switch, or I'm turning off the light switch. Your intuition can be turned on or it could be turned off at will, and she says it's a skill set. So there's different styles, we've already mentioned this, of medical intuition, and one of them is called healer's hits, and another one is called the attending model, which is the one that Lori Wilson uses when she does a body scan. So if we briefly talk about the healer's hits, this is where information will jump out as the practitioner is interacting in a healing fashion with their client's body. And once this information comes to the surface or jumps out, the practitioner is able to use this insight that they have gained as part of their healing treatment, while other people may choose just to get information, to gather information as they do the health service for the patient. Now the attending model is different. This is where we're scanning the body in a systematic fashion. You get a portrait of the body and you report exactly what you observe, what you've experienced, what you've heard. So the physiology is used as an entry point to attend to the body. And then once that entry point, that physiology has been used and you're attending to the body, then you follow. You track what the body is telling you until that observation feels like it's complete or it's done. And of course you're sourcing as you're doing this, and there's many different sources. We've mentioned some of them in the first video. And you're attending to uncover any root causes, or you're gathering information about certain conditions that can be very specific. And it could be done either in person or it could be done long distance. So the work that Lori describes she does, it's using this style, and it's called a body scan. She's named it Medical Intuition, Lori Wilson's Total Body Intuition. So I just want to end off just giving you briefly my experience, like sharing my experience briefly with you about my journey of why I got into intuition. And if I think back to when I was young, I've noticed that at an early age, I knew things that other people didn't. I understood how people felt, and people were drawn to me and they would share their feelings. It could be complete strangers that I didn't even know. For instance, I was sitting in my grade 1 class, and I remember just staring up into the ceiling and just talking to a spirit. So I would constantly tune out or tune in to things around me and tune out of what was going on in the classroom setting. And I was picking up how, for example, the teacher was feeling, or how the students were feeling, or friends were feeling. And throughout life, and you might have experienced this as well, when I didn't follow my gut feeling or my intuition, I soon realized that I would have been better off if I did listen to my intuition. So my intuition was always there, and it was giving me information about a certain circumstance, but I just had to become more aware and pay attention to that. And I got interested in intuition, especially when the family dog died, and I felt his presence around me. And at that time, I was a Jehovah's Witness, as I mentioned in the previous video, and the idea of having a spirit around me as a Jehovah's Witness was like, no way, you can't, like, I couldn't even entertain that thought. So, but it was happening. It was real. So I was paying more attention into what is intuition, what is happening. And that's when I decided to take the animal communication course, which also uses intuition, but we're tapping into a different source, which in this case is an animal, like my dog. So I got a whole bunch of different literature about spirituality and intuition, and I was looking for someone that can help me to trust myself and to help me to be able to use my intuition. And that's when one day I was at an appointment and I picked up a little red booklet about fear, and it was by Lori Wilson, and she was channeling her guide, who is grandmother. And I got interested in this person, and it happened that the person I was seeing knew who this person was and said, yeah, you should go see her. So I did. And the first time that I saw her, I got a business intuition done, which helped me out a lot, because at that time in my life I was wondering, what should I do? I just started my own business, and really it helped me a lot to find a location for this business, and with other ideas as well. So after taking this course, or as I'm taking this course, I wanted to share some of the information that I found on intuition with you. I've always liked asking a lot of questions all the time as I grew up in school and outside school, and I do recommend that you question and you find your answers as well. I became an Osteopathic Manual Therapist, and I was trying to find answers to how we affect the spirit when we're doing a treatment. And I had some discussions with professors, and again I looked at more literature to find the answer to that as well. And then I went through this evolutionary process of taking Reiki, animal communication course in Montreal, and it was Bernard Darien who gave the course, and it really helped me to just become more in tune with my body and more aware of what's going on with my patient at different levels. And being an osteopathic manual therapist has helped me to be able to use touch, which has helped me to become more in tune with my kinesthetic awareness, and it's a style of learning that we'll go over a little bit later on about. And so something that has always been in the back of my head, it's like I feel this drive that I wanted answered is, what is the spirit? So after my dogs died, I wanted to know that even more, because I felt their presence. I wanted to understand myself more by knowing the answer to that question. And I wanted to understand things at a deeper level than I currently understood. I took a course in matrix energetics, and I did healings with Andrew Vacca for a while. It was a group that he had in Windsor, and we also used our intuition when I was doing that. I'd say my passion is driven because I want to help people. I don't want people to be in pain. I want to serve people better, and I want to understand what the spirit is. So as I was practicing doing osteopathy, it felt like something was missing. There was something missing with this beautiful science and art. Such issues as stability and how are we affecting the spirit. And the patients that I've been seeing, they wanted more answers. And by them asking me these questions, it helped me to dig deeper, look at different explanations. And I would use this technique in Reiki. It's a mental emotional release technique, and that helps. And as I'm working with the patient doing osteopathy, I would have great emotional releases as well with patients, but I just knew at a deeper level that in order for people to heal, one, they need to be made aware of it, talk about it, and be able to heal that within themselves. And a lot of my patients that see me, they have chronic conditions, and they're searching for relief from the pain that they've been going through for a long time. And they've tried numerous different routes, different traditional healthcare, and they haven't been able to find the answers or find relief. So I was looking for tools that can help them at a deeper emotional level and spiritual and soul level. You might have heard of this before, that people manifest physically illnesses in their body because of long-term stress, emotional stress. It's a very familiar concept today, and as a patient, you may ask yourself, well, what is my emotional stress? And really try to heal that within you, because it will manifest physically what the practitioner finds when you go in to see them. And the information that can be gained from a body scan can be used by anyone on the healing team. And healing team, what Lori defines that as, is anyone who is supporting your health and well-being, and it could be used across various healing modalities to support the client's health. And remember that you are a full and equal partner within this healing team. So the information you gain may give you a piece of the puzzle, and that's wonderful. And sometimes you may not even understand the information, or it may be a piece of the puzzle, but it's a message for someone on your healing team. You may not understand it, or the person who's the body scan may not understand it. Maybe for someone else on your healing team. So how is medical intuition healing? In that it is helpful or informative to the person. It's not a technique to balance the body. Now, how do you receive information? I said I would talk about the different styles of medical intuition, the different styles of learning. There are different styles of medical intuition, but we talked about the attending model of medical intuition, and we touched on the healer's hits of medical intuition. So there's different learning styles, and one of those is you could be a visual learner. So think back when you were at school and see if you see yourself sitting in the classroom. And if you're more visual, then when you do a medical intuition scan, the body will show you different images of information that can benefit the client. So I'll give you an example. Today when I was treating a patient, I got an image that they were carrying their daughter in one hand, and then they twisted to the right to pick up a bag in the other hand, in the left hand. And as a result of doing that, the body was showing that it was affecting the pain that they were experiencing in the lower back. So you may get an image, a visual. You may hear something. You may be an auditory learner. So you may be looking out at space and you're still paying attention, but you're listening. And how would this look like in the medical intuition? So scan, body scan, or healer's hit. So when I'm working with a patient, let's say that I get to the lungs, like this is an example, and I'm working on the lungs, and then I hear, I am afraid. And then I'm going to tune into I am afraid and see if anything else comes up, the body has to say. So that was auditory. Kinesthetic learner, which is what I am most prominently. So if you were a kid and you wanted to get down on the floor, you wanted to do experiments, you wanted to mix things, build things, then you would be more of a kinesthetic learner. And an example of this would be, okay, so I had a patient and they were experiencing lower back pain. But then when I was doing the treatment, also what came up was that the pain was radiating down their right leg, back behind the hamstring muscle. And when I got to the hamstring muscle around that area, I was releasing the tissues. The patient said, yes, that is exactly where the pain pattern refers, and I can feel it there. So I was experiencing that in my body, and then I went to their body, to that same area, and I was working on it, and then the patient was able to also say that, yes, that is correct. Now, there's also what's called Sense8 Learning, and this is where you're getting information from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And this is where you'll hear people say, I just know, I don't know how I know, but I just know. and you may feel like you're spacey, this expansive feeling, and it's more universal. So I want to end off by saying that, yes, Lori says that we're going to the body to find information when we're using our intuition, and she calls it as the body having its own personality or persona separate from the mind. But we know that the mind, the body, and the spirit or the soul are they're interconnected. We cannot dissect ourselves and say that these components of our own being are separate. And there's books that define and also characterize these qualities of our mind, of our body, and of our spirit. So I will leave off there. I hope you enjoyed that about intuition. So we got into the different styles of learning, and now that we have, you may be able to start to pick up when you're working with a patient how you receive intuitive information. So I hope you enjoyed that, and have a great day. Bye-bye.